Good evening to all the seniors, our respected chairpersons. Let me first share my slides. Yeah, it is here. I think it is. I think it is visible, sir.
Yes, visible. Yes,
Yeah,
visible.
good.
Make it full screen, sir.
Yeah, I'm making it just now. Yeah. Uh, I think this topic recently I had a website story in 3 sessions, so I think it's very important and very important topic is also by the next speaker, Dr. Sen. But I will restrict myself to the CVD recent updates. And let us start. I think these three stories, if you want, you can anytime go to the website because these are very important updates. And slightly, they will change your conception what you are thinking about the uric acid and the CBD and about the drugs, which is very important. So this I will you see later on. So let us start with this problem. I think a very important problem. Suppose a patient comes to you of 56-year-old man, diabetics for 20 years on glimepiride and Sita and metformin. Here he is a CAD patient, that is coronary artery disease with TMT positive on getting nitrates, aspirin and statin. Recently got acute flare of gout but now settled. But just a few days back, his uric acid was 9.1. So cardiologist started uh, febuxostat 40 milligram per day. So is there anything odd here? Do you want to modify it? We will discuss at the end. And in the same way, if suppose a case like 60-year man here, again a CKD patient with CAD. Remember, here again getting the nitrate aspirin statin, but history of gout is 8 years back, not now. But CKD with recent EGFR is 38, and the uric acid is 9.5 now. No symptoms for regarding the uric acid. But here seeing all these things, the cardiologist started the allopurinol. But when he went to the nephrologist, he stopped it and started febuxostat 40 milligram per day. So again, there is lots of or there anything it is okay or what to do. So we will discuss. I will not discuss this case because this is a pure case of asymptomatic hyperuricemia, which Dr. Sen will discuss. So as you know, the uric acid, the end product of the purine metabolism in the higher animals, and under physiological conditions, the uric acid synthesis and excretion are balanced in the body. When this balance is disturbed, it leads to hyperuricemia. So just in clinical practice, if a male comes to you with the level greater than 7 or female levels greater than 6, they are considered to be hyperuricemia. That is by this is I think researcher that we are following this. But again, there are many papers which say that even uric acid levels that had been related with the total mortality, even if it is more than 4.7, and cardiovascular mortality which is 5.6. So again a bit of debate is here, so I will not gain that. But so remember, this is at present the fourth highest. With increasingly unhealthy lifestyle, the incidence of hyperuricemia is increasing, and it has become the fourth highest after hypertension, hyperglycemia and hyperlipidemia. Just a bit of uh, remembering the science here, that how this purines to here works xanthine to uric acid, xanthine oxidase works here, then the uric acid go to gut 30% and by kidney 70%. And when there is inadequate renal excretion or overproduction, as you can see here, this is how we get uric acid more and more. So again, the saying the same thing here. Remember, this is very again important that uric acid has limited solubility in the body fluids. Monosodium urate crystals formation occurs above the solubility threshold, and urate crystals are deposited preferentially in and around peripheral joints in the feet and other parts as it is well known fact. So this is how happens. I will not go in details here, but you see and what I told till now. So but there is, if there is hyperuricemia, this has been related with the hypertension, coronary artery disease, diabetes, and the CKD. And you can see here this is a very big problem now, and lots of new happenings has come that how it increases the if there is high uric acid. You can see here the cardiomyocytes is involved with the glucose uptake increases and the insulin resistance occurs, and ultimately by this pathway the cell apoptosis and dysfunctions have been found in many recent research. So you can see how this high uric acid with increased ROS and with all these mediators, how this damage the cardiovascular system. So there is a clear-cut pathway by which this is happening. Macrophage polarization, pro-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory. So you can see leading to insulin resistance, cardiac dysfunction, cardiomyocyte hypertrophy, and myocardial fibrosis. So these are very, very important things. Again, suppose a patient has got a symptomatic hyperuricemia. This is query mark I am showing here, the CV disease, stroke, renal disease, and metabolic syndrome. So we will discuss this. But if there is hyperuricemia and these are becomes the risk factors with going to atherosclerosis, hypertension, cardiovascular, CKD, and stroke. If you see this short video from the Sole,
हमको नहीं पता, हमको कुछ नहीं पता.
So I will say that when we discuss hyperuricemia and CVD, sometimes I find कि हमको अभी बहुत कुछ नहीं पता. Day back 1887, the high arterial tension in gout is due in part to uric acid told by this gentleman and other toxic substances, which increases the tone of renal arterioles. This was told, and the recent epidemiological studies show that this may be involved in hypertension, diabetes, atherosclerosis, chronic kidney disease, atrial fibrillation, and as well as occurrence of cardiovascular events. So this is something very important to understand. But there are lots of papers and we can get lots of debates and different views. As you can see, if you compare the allopurinol to the Fibostat that improves the cardiovascular outcomes told by this gentleman, and lots of things are happening. You can see here the results of this meta-analysis, which is showing that the two urate lowering therapies have no significant association with respect to blood pressure among adult adults with hyperuricemia. No significant association was also noted either the uric acid lowering therapy with all cause mortality. So I think this is a bit different again. When this meta-analysis in 20, this is not a old study. You can see here a association of Febuxostat compared to allopurinol on blood pressure and major adverse cardiac effect and MACE. So some things a bit different. But anyway, this again a very important meta-analysis came in this year itself. I think that you can see here the 10 RCTs, more than 18,000 participants, and conclusion is regarding the Febuxostat. Remember, this is very important update that this drug Febuxostat is not associated with increasing risk of adverse cardiovascular events when you compare to allopurinol and compared to placebo. Whether Febuxostat and allopurinol reduces the risk of adverse cardiovascular events remains uncertain. So we are just till now we are just blaming, and we are blaming due to that trial which the story I will tell you. But remember, this is from this meta-analysis of 2021. You can see here that regarding allopurinol and Febuxostat and placebo, I find and you will find here that let it be MACE, non-fatal stroke, non-fatal MI or cardiovascular death. I think only green portion you can see with the Febuxostat. So this is again a very important, I think, update how this odd ratio is showing and what is the message. And very important new trial, again the FAST trial, this new look at the prostate safety profile, and this shows that this is non-inferior to allopurinol therapy with respect to the primary cardiovascular endpoints, and its long-term use is not associated with an increased risk of death or serious adverse events compared with the allopurinol. So again, it is a very important update which I think last year it was found. So the findings I will not go in details. This is available on net. You can see there, but you can see here how this Febostate significantly decreased the uric acid levels, and this effect was greater with associated with greater reduction in the incidence of CVD. You can see it is a bit different from the trial which damaged the Febostate position and renal events, which was used as primary composite endpoints. And so this is again very important trial. So in conclusion, this post hoc analysis of the Febostate treatment for achieving this uric acid levels between 5 to 6 reduces a composite of all these cerebral, cardiovascular and renal events with the pronounced effect compared with you can see here the levels. So there are some old trials. I will not show the old trials, but let us come to direct to here. What is the recent thinking about the uric acid, CVD and hypertension, that this is a strongly, if now we are discussing for the association, so this is strongly associated with the hypertension, but mechanism is not clearly understood, so you can get endothelial dysfunction caused by oxidative stress, and studies have shown that uric acid significantly increase the production of ROS, which I showed you. So in conclusion, this is closely related with the BP, but a consistent effect has not been observed. So this is one thing. And if you see all these studies, which are for the linking the association of the CVD with the increased uric acid level, you can see here these are all new studies, not old studies, with the link to hypertension, coronary artery disease. It is not possible to go in details, but the message is quite clear. Let it be atrial fibrillation, heart failure. In some studies it is associated, in some studies the link is not clear. So atherosclerosis is the most common cardiovascular disease with the highest morbidity and mortality, you know, and the possible mechanism today, these all have been found important pathways and mechanisms by which it occurs. So ultimately it leads to here the endothelial dysfunction whenever there is increase, and there is a clear-cut mechanism which I showed you earlier also. And this is again a very important article which has appeared just recently in the American Journal of Cardiovascular Drugs, how it happens. So this already I have discussed. So let us go straight forward now to the treatment objectives. What is the treatment of the objectives? If there is a symptomatic phase, acute gout, interval gout or chronic gout, so our aim is quite clear, and but the problems are that when the CARES trial came, and that had added a new information that time on comparative CV safety between the two xanthine oxidase inhibitors, and that time only that we found this trial showed that there was a big problem with the Febostate. So then what happened, you can see here that FDA came in the action, and there was that time in it was 2018 that there is overwhelming by after the CARES trial evidence that the serious CVD with Febostate outweigh any purported clinical benefit. So this was that time, and that was found that in the New England Journal told that the cardiovascular death and death from any cause were more frequent in Febostate group than in the allopurinol group. So that was the problem. And then you can see here the higher risk of heart-related death with this drug. So this is that CARES trial. You can see how it was shown with the Febostate and allopurinol. So the message was quite clear. So, but people that time also told that in this trial all-cause mortality was higher in the febuxostat group than in the allopurinol group. That was true because of an excess of cardiovascular deaths, and findings were similar in the modified intention to treat analysis and in the pre-specified analysis that included events that occurred during treatment and within 30 days after treatment discontinuation. So mechanism underlying the risk of death was unclear in case trial, and there was many heterogeneity of analysis. It was found that the patients with concomitant given administration of aspirin or NSAID, they developed higher mortality. But anyway, the FDA came in 2019 and a black box warning was released that they told FDA that a study show that it has an increased risk of death, and pay attention to symptoms of heart attack and stroke while taking febuxostat. So this happened in, so this you can see here. But even if you see the allopurinol, how safe it is, you can see here that if the 2% of all allopurinol users develop cutaneous rash, and you can DRESS syndrome itself is a big problem which can have a 20% mortality rate. The drug reaction, eosinophilia and systemic symptoms, and this is life-threatening toxicity could occur, and it is so it is again not you can see here it is also not very safe as I see. Then the came recently the role of SGLT2 inhibitors in the treatment of hyperuricemia, and these drugs induce a state of nutrient deprivation and includes activation of serotonin 1 and suppression of xanthine oxidase and lowering of serum uric acid. So how these SGLT2 inhibitors decrease uric acid? So this has been shown, and the intermediary role of serotonin 1 in both uric acid lowering and cardioprotection may explain why in mediation analysis of large scale cardiovascular trials, the effects of sodium glucose co-transporter 2 inhibitors to decrease uric acid is a major predictor of ability of drugs to decrease serious heart failure. So this is very important update. So believe on SGLT2 inhibitors at this point of time. Okay, there is a clear-cut way how it protects you. So I will tell here that this is very important update again, that some trials even from the sub-analysis of the EMPA-REG trial and other trials, it has been found that this is could be a very important drug again in a specific such conditions to decrease the uric acid, and also you know the other effects of the cardioprotection by this group of drugs. So many clinical studies and meta-analysis have confirmed that SGLT2 inhibitors can reduce main cardiovascular adverse events and all-cause mortality. This is well known to you, and also both which increase where there is uric acid is increased, this can also decrease, and you can see this is how much. So you can ask how much this will decrease. This occurs in a dose-dependent manner, and if you compare with placebo with the DAPA 2.5, 5 and 10 milligram, that uric acid in this is shown in millimole decreases by 30, 36 and 47. So this is significant. This is not a small one. So again this trial, this if there is some renal problem, definitely in that case allopurinol is not the drug of choice. You can see here this is shown by the new FLASH trial and many other recent trials like shown by the newer 2 trials. This how the allopurinol, if you are at all using in CKD cases, you should how start. If there is intermittent dialysis on the hemodialysis, you start with the 100 milligram alternate day, and daily you additional 50% of dose may be required post dialysis daily. So you start with 50 milligram per day, all types of RRT, then you up titrate dose with 15 milligram increments every 2 to 5 weeks, measuring the serum urate pre-dialysis. But if you are using febuxostat, there is no need to do such things. But at present it is not FDA approved for the use in dialysis due to lack of trials. So this is again important. So if you are using allopurinol in such CKD cases, you can see the risk. You can be quite clear here that here you see the reports of acute renal failure occurs 5.7 times more frequently with febuxostat and 3.3 times more often with allopurinol. So this is quite clear. So I will just end my talk by showing you some learning points that there are clear guidelines concerning management of symptomatic hyperuricemia in acute conditions. This is quite you are knowing. There is an ongoing debate, and management of asymptomatic hyperuricemia in such patients is still mainly up to physicians' judgment, and Dr. Sen will tell you details what is his approach. This is a risk factor for the CKD and also CBD. This I just shown you. Again, there is some relation with the hypertriglyceridemia and the uric acid production. And there are some studies which are showing that suppose a patient is having only isolated triglycerides in tune of more than 350 or 450, just giving only the febuxostat, not using a statin, I think they were able to decrease the high triglyceride level. So this link should be more. We should take care of that, and I'm showing you some references for that. But that is not my. So let us see what you are going to do in the case scenario number 1. So cardiologist started febuxostat. I am not giving you the final words. I have given you the science. I have given you that apart from 20118, when the CARES trial was detrimental for the future of this febuxostat, and so we started using allopurinol in all CVD cases. But by this meta-analysis in 2021, I would not like to use allopurinol if at least there is some CKD case like. So we can discuss in the discussion part. But this I will tell that in 2021 concepts you can use any, at least febuxostat is not toxic, that has been shown. And if there is case scenario 2 where the cardiologist has started allopurinol and nephrologist stopped it, what you do? You can reduce dose with allopurinol, or better you shift to the, I think, don't be confused when the patient is CAD, you can jolly well today, I will say that we can use febuxostat. There is no such risk which has been told so far. So CADA and CKD, if was consistent in this case, and which the new network meta-analysis of 2021, febuxostat has not been found detrimental for cardiovascular system. And these days, febuxostat is clearly a drug of choice in presence of CKD, and nephrologists can opt for febuxostat in presence of CVD. So also there is no harm in continuing allopurinol in reduced dose if CAD and CKD coexist. So this is my case scenario we will not discuss. So the key points are quite clear that the several anti-inflammatory and urate lowering drugs used in gout have been found to have a favorable effect on CV outcomes. Allopurinol may have a potential cardioprotective effect. This has been shown. But CV outcome with febuxostat are non-inferior to allopurinol, and this is the point which I am making over and over again. And long-term use of febuxostat is not associated with increased death or CV mortality. This is the new thing which we can apply in our clinical practice. So just the good, the bad with the uric acid. You can see this is how doing hypertension, heart failure, atrial fibrillation, atherosclerosis. And when there are clear guidelines concerning the management of symptomatic hyperuricemia in acute conditions, we don't know much about the asymptomatic cases. I will looking for the Dr. Sen, what he tells you. So I think these are the things. So I will end here with my topic. So learning points I have already told you. So thank you very much for patience hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this nice presentation. It's very information-packed presentation, and as far as hyperuricemia is concerned, very useful for practicing physician. I invite my co-chair, Dr. Shaival Guha, to invite questions.
Yeah, thanks, NK Singh sir, once again for your typical copyright presentation. It was always, as usual, crisp, clear, colorful, and to the point. And there are a few queries in the chat box, and I have the same question. Where do you place the colchicine in the treatment of gout? In the treatment of hyperuricemia, not gout?
I think it is, I will place only in cases of acute flare. I
Right.
think these days also the lots of trials have shown that colchicine is quite a very useful drug, and in our clinical practice we are not using in that way, the way
Right.
we should all use it. So
And
you
for
are
how
well
long,
aware
sir?
about the in MI protection also, or in MI cases also, that everyone is well aware today. So I will
Yeah.
place that in the chronic CBD and other cases. There is no role at present, I think, but in acute flare, I will place it is a very very important drug. So
And
I
for
didn't, yeah, I
and
didn't.
for how long, sir?
Colchicine has in the acute flare, the dosage I think depends on the flare, but usually we don't use more than 5 to 7 days in most of
Right.
cases.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to chairperson, sir. Over to the host, sir. Kiran, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dr. N.K. Singh, sir,
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
excellent talk.